One of these blackberries built a theme park. One was invented by a judge who had absolutely no training in botany. There's a blackberry out there that's completely white, and it's not a mutation gone wrong, it's on purpose. And the most popular blackberry in America? It was bred to survive being shaken off a vine by a machine. This is every blackberry variety explained. Triple Crown. Most people think thornless blackberries sacrifice flavor for convenience. Like the thorns are paying for the sweetness, and if you take them away, you lose something. That idea made sense in the 1980s. It doesn't anymore. Triple Crown is the proof. Released in 1996 by the USDA, this variety was bred in Beltsville, Maryland, and it's become one of the most popular backyard blackberries in the country. The berries are huge, glossy, and so sweet that first-time growers usually think something went wrong, because the fruit tastes too good to be thornless. Triple Crown is a semi-erect plant, meaning it doesn't sprawl along the ground like a vine, but it doesn't stand perfectly upright either. You'll want a simple trellis. What you get in return is heavy yields. We're talking buckets per plant in a good year. It performs well across a wide range of climates, from the mid-Atlantic to the Pacific Northwest. And here's the number that matters. Thornless varieties now make up the vast majority of commercial blackberry acreage in the United States. Triple Crown is a big reason why. It proved that you could take the thorns out and keep the taste in. 1 cup of blackberries packs about 8 grams of fiber. That's more than a cup of oatmeal. And blackberries rank higher in antioxidant content than strawberries, raspberries, cranberries, and even blueberries. Triple Crown delivers all of that without a single scratch on your hand. Kiowa. Now forget everything comfortable about Triple Crown, because Kiowa is the opposite experience. This is a thorny blackberry, aggressively thorny. The kind of thorny where you put on leather gloves and still come away bleeding. But here's the thing. Kiowa produces some of the largest blackberries on the planet. We're talking individual berries the size of your thumb. Sweet, firm, and so big that people at farmers markets stop and stare. Developed by the University of Arkansas, which has been the epicenter of American blackberry breeding for decades, Kiowa was released in 1996, same year as Triple Crown. It thrives in warm southern climates where other varieties struggle with the heat. And it has an unusually long harvest window, sometimes stretching 6 weeks or more. For thousands of years, thorny blackberries were the only kind anyone knew. Seeds have been pulled from Iron Age archaeological sites in Britain, dating back 2,500 years. The ancient Greeks ate blackberries to treat gout. They literally called them goutberries. Romans boiled the bark into medicine, and across Europe, people planted dense bramble hedgerows around villages as living barbed wire fences. Thorns sharp enough to stop livestock and, according to medieval folklore, even curses. Even curses. Kiowa carries that old-world toughness in a modern package. If you want the biggest, boldest blackberry, and you don't mind earning it, this is the one. Marionberry. You've probably heard of Marionberries, but here's something most people don't realize. You almost certainly haven't eaten one fresh. And there's a very specific reason for that. 90% of the world's Marionberry supply comes from one place, Oregon's Willamette Valley. And over 95% of the harvest goes straight to processing, frozen, pureed, or turned into jam. The berries are so soft, so delicate, that they basically can't survive a trip to a grocery store in another state. If you want a fresh Marionberry, you go to Oregon in July. That's the deal. The variety was created in the 1940s by a USDA plant breeder named George Waldo, working at Oregon State University. He crossed 2 existing blackberries, Forchehalem and Olalley, and tested the result in Marion County. Released in 1956, the Marionberry now accounts for more than half of all blackberries grown in Oregon. In 2017, Oregon made Marionberry pie the official state pie. People call it the Cabernet of blackberries because of its layered, earthy, sweet tart complexity. It's a trailing variety, meaning the canes grow long and flexible like vines. You need a trellis. You need space. You need patience. But that flavor? Nothing else in the blackberry world comes close. The Marionberry is part of the reason Oregon's berry industry brings in hundreds of millions of dollars every year. One man, one cross, one county, and an entire state economy shift. Boysenberry. This might be the wildest origin story of any fruit in America. In the 1920s, a Swedish-American horticulturist named Rudolf Boysen was experimenting with berry crosses on a ranch in Napa Valley, California. He crossed blackberries, raspberries, and Loganberries. One morning, he walked along a creek bank and found a vine bearing fruit nearly 2 inches long, dark maroon, intensely juicy, with flavor no one had ever tasted before. Then Boysen broke his back, falling down a fire station pole. He couldn't tend his vines. He sold his ranch, moved to Anaheim, took a job as park superintendent. His miracle berry was abandoned, left to die under weeds at a farm he no longer even owned. Years later, a berry farmer named Walter Knott heard rumors about this fruit. He tracked Boysen down through the phone book, but Boysen had nothing left. No plants, no seeds, nothing. Knott drove out to the old farm and found a handful of half-dead vines, suffocated by overgrowth. He dug them up, brought them to his own place in Buena Park, California, and nursed them back to life. When customers at his roadside stand asked what these amazing berries were, Knott just said, Boysenberries. His wife Cordelia started baking boysenberry pies and serving fried chicken dinners to make ends meet during the Depression. That little roadside operation? It became Knott's Berry Farm, one of the first theme parks in America. A dying vine, a broken back, a borrowed name, and a theme park. All from one hybrid that technically isn't even a pure blackberry. Boysenberries are larger, juicier, and sweeter than standard blackberries, with a distinctive wine-like aroma. Today, there's a thornless version that keeps the original's dark, brown-red color and incredible flavor in a much more manageable plant. Loganberry. In 1881, a California Superior Court judge named James Harvey Logan was puttering around in his garden in Santa Cruz. He wasn't a botanist, he wasn't a breeder. He was a lawyer who happened to love plants. He had blackberry bushes growing right next to a patch of red Antwerp raspberries, and he was trying to improve his blackberry crop by cross-pollinating different varieties. He didn't plan what happened next. Bees carried pollen from the raspberries to the blackberries. Nature did the work. The resulting seedlings produced a fruit nobody had ever seen. Elongated, dark red, larger than either parent, with a flavor that split the difference between sweet and tart. Logan named the berry after himself, because that's what you do when you're a judge, and you accidentally create a new species in your backyard. The University of California introduced it to the public 2 years later. What makes the Loganberry truly significant isn't just the fruit itself. It's what came after. The Loganberry became the foundation for an entire family of hybrid berries. The Boysenberry, part Loganberry. The Tayberry, built on the same concept. Every blackberry-raspberry cross that followed owes something to a judge, a garden, and an insect that didn't know it was making history. Loganberries are tart, noticeably tart, which makes them perfect for jams, preserves, pies, and baking. Anywhere you want that bright acidity to cut through sugar. They're still popular in the Pacific Northwest and the United Kingdom, where cooler climates support vigorous cane growth. Primark Freedom. Here's a vocabulary word, primocane. Most blackberry plants follow a 2-year cycle. Year 1, the cane grows. Year 2, it flowers and fruits. Then you cut it down. That's how it's worked for centuries. Primark Freedom threw that out the window. Released by the University of Arkansas in 2013, it was the first thornless primocane fruiting blackberry ever sold commercially. That means it produces fruit on the same cane in year 1. No waiting. And here's the kicker. You can potentially harvest twice per season. Once on the new growth in late summer, and again on the previous year's canes earlier in the season. When winter comes, you can mow the entire plant to the ground and start over. No complicated pruning, no guessing which canes are old and which are new. Grow, pick, mow, repeat. For home gardeners who want the simplest possible system, this was a revolution. The berries are large and sweet. Not quite Marionberry level complex, but very good. Primark Traveler followed with better firmness for shipping. Primark 45 is thorny but produces heavily. This whole category is still young. Think of it like autumn fruiting raspberries 30 years ago. The concept is proven, the breeding is catching up. Every year the fruit gets bigger, the ripening gets earlier, and the heat tolerance improves. Give it another decade, and primocane blackberries could reshape how the entire industry works. Navajo. The Navajo family is what you recommend when someone says, "I've never grown a berry before, and I don't want to mess this up." Developed by the University of Arkansas, and released in 1989, Navajo was one of the first truly erect thornless blackberries, meaning the canes stand straight up on their own without a trellis. No thorns, no sprawling vines, no complicated support system. You stick it in the ground and it basically raises itself. But simplicity isn't the only thing going on here. Navajo berries are firm, sweet, and have one of the best shelf lives of any blackberry variety. That firmness made it a favorite for commercial growers who need fruit that can survive packaging and shipping without turning to mush. The family expanded. Navajo Big and Early ripens in July and finishes by August, a tight, concentrated harvest window. Navajo Summerlong does the opposite, stretching from mid-July through the end of August. And Navajo the Big Easy, launched in 2019, produces berries up to 50% larger than its siblings. All of them share the core traits: thornless, upright, winter hardy, and notably resistant to disease. The original Navajo has lower susceptibility to downy mildew, which is a persistent problem in humid climates. For anyone in the eastern half of the United States, where winters are cold and summers are humid, the Navajo family is built for your weather. Polarberry. Here's one that breaks your brain a little. It's a blackberry, a real, genuine blackberry. But the fruit is white. Polarberry is missing anthocyanin, the pigment that makes blackberries dark purple to black. Without it, you get a pale, almost creamy white berry that looks like it belongs to an entirely different plant. The flavor is milder than a regular blackberry, virtually no acidity. But the classic blackberry aroma is still there. You close your eyes and smell it, and you know exactly what it is. It's just quieter, gentler. Some people compare it to eating a blackberry with the volume turned down. And there's a practical advantage nobody expected. Birds and spotted-winged Drosophila, the tiny fruit fly that devastates berry crops, are far less attracted to white fruit. Less pest damage means less netting, less spraying, less lost harvest. The berries also suffer less sunburn damage. Nature built the blackberry's color as a signal. Eat me. Remove the signal, and suddenly the pests leave it alone. Polarberry fruits on 2-year-old canes, ripening from mid-July through September. It's a novelty, sure, but it's also a genuinely useful innovation for growers dealing with pest pressure. Sometimes the weirdest solution turns out to be the smartest one. Japanese Wineberry. This one isn't technically a blackberry variety at all. It's a completely separate species, Rubus funiculaceus, but it grows like a blackberry. It's in the same family, and if you find one in the wild, you'll think it's a blackberry at first, until you look closer. The canes are covered in fine, reddish, almost fuzzy hair-like thorns. Not the sharp spikes of a standard bramble, more like a soft, prickly armor. The flowers are pale pink and small, and the fruit is unlike anything else in the berry world. Small, glossy, orange-red berries, with an exotic, slightly resinous flavor, and a texture that's both firm and juicy. Japanese wineberry is native to East Asia, China, Japan, and Korea, and was brought to North America in the 1890s as breeding stock and an ornamental plant. It adapted a little too well. In parts of the eastern United States, it's now considered invasive. It spreads aggressively, forming dense thickets that crowd out native plants. But here's the contradiction. The flavor is extraordinary. That resinous, almost wine-like quality is completely unique. People who discover wineberries growing wild along a trail or at the edge of a forest tend to become obsessed. It's the best thing you'll eat that your state might be trying to eradicate. The berries ripen in August, and each one sits inside a papery calyx that peels back as the fruit matures, like a little gift unwrapping itself. One cup delivers high levels of vitamin C and E, plus the same polyphenol antioxidants you get from standard blackberries. Wild. Delicious. Technically a problem. That's the Japanese wineberry. Lowberry Little Black Prince. We're ending with the future. Lowberry Little Black Prince is the world's first compact autumn-bearing blackberry, and it tops out at less than 1 meter tall. That's under 3 feet. Thornless, fruits from mid-August until the first frost, and produces large, shiny, surprisingly tasty berries for a plant that fits in a pot on your balcony. This isn't just a miniature novelty. It represents where blackberry breeding is headed. The programs at Lowberry in Switzerland and East Malling in southern England are running joint breeding projects specifically targeting compact varieties for container growing. The goal, a blackberry that performs on a third-floor apartment terrace as well as it does in a field. They're focused on increasing fruit size without increasing plant size. improving winter hardiness for northern climates, pushing the harvest earlier, and keeping the aroma and sweetness that make a blackberry worth growing in the first place. The first crosses in this new wave are already bearing fruit. It will still take a few years before new varieties reach the market, but the direction is clear. Blackberries are leaving the farm and moving to the city. Little Black Prince is leading the way. For anyone with no yard, no acreage, and no desire to wrestle with 8-foot thorny canes, this is your blackberry, so here's the rundown. Best all-arounder for your backyard. Triple crown. Thornless, huge berries, hard to mess up. Biggest berries in the game. Kiowa, if you don't mind the thorns. Best flavor, period. Marionberry, but you'll need Oregon weather or a plane ticket. Wildest origin story. Boysenberry. Broken back, dying vines, theme park. Most historically important. Loganberry, an accidental cross that launched an entire family of hybrids. Easiest maintenance. Primark Freedom. Grow it, pick it, mow it down, do it again. Best for beginners. Navajo. Stands up straight. No trellis. No drama. Weirdest. Polarberry. A blackberry that forgot how to be black. Best wild find. Japanese Wineberry. Exotic flavor, invasive attitude. And the one to watch. Lowberry Little Black Prince. The future of berries on a balcony. Which one are you growing? Drop it in the comments.